Okay, good morning. Now we are on a roll right now, so if you haven't done, please hit subscribe, ring the bell, and that will bring you notifications of our video release at 8:30 every Sunday morning. Come on guys, we need more subscribers. This week we're back on the farm. We've got some bits to show you here, and at the end of the video we're going to release one of the rooms of the house and show you what the completed project looks like. One room per week on the run in now to Christmas, and we'll also bring you a bit of Christmas decoration that we've been getting up to as well at the same time. But back to the farm, little catch up on everything. So we will start with the bio unit. Now this here doesn't conform to building regs, albeit we are building it in the same manner. So what we have done, starting from the very top, we've got the clay ridge tile at the very top. That sits over the top of the slate, which is over the Tyvek and batten, the same as we have done on the house build basically. On the underside of that, we've then got the trusses that we had from a company called ETS, so they make us the trusses basically. So they're all on. Brick wise, we've gone exactly the same brick as I've said before. We've gone for the same corbel detail, which is running along the eaves line there and up and down the gable line, as in the rafter line. And then again, we've gone with Shropshire brick and stone for the heads and sills of the windows. That matches the house. All the brickwork is the same. Everything as you come in is in keeping then. So where we're up to now, Wayne did appreciate after the last video, it was quite drafty in there. So he has now ordered all the windows and the doors. So we're just waiting for them to come. At the minute, it's a bit touch and go whether we're going to get them before Christmas. Ultimately, we couldn't measure and order them until the stone sills were in as well. So they're in, they're done, and we've measured up and ordered everything now. And then regarding all the works inside, that won't happen then until them windows and doors are in. Around this side. Okay, so around the back here, what we've got the poo pipe coming out the back there. That's going to connect all the waste inside, or does connect all the waste inside. That's going to come out. We've got a brand new poo tank to put in. And then after that, we've got an oil tank base to put in so we can sit the oil tank, which I'm probably hoping we're going to put about here, right by where I'm standing. And then that will fire the underfloor heating that we've got going in. So a little bit different of a system because it's not ground source, but ultimately, like I say, that will fire the heating and do all the hot water at the same time. Then all of this area here and back up to the existing building is going to be concreted, but I don't know when we're going to get that done because of the weather. Main building. Okay, so on the building, not a lot again has changed. We've still got this concrete strip to put in down here, but again, we haven't had the weather. Plus, now we've had to put cattle in there and bring everything in. There is a load of feed in the way. So, but ultimately what I need here is this concrete strip going in to act as the footing for this final brick nib on this corner. So basically we've got a brick nib to go here on this corner, and then we can finish that drip detail and the cladding above and get everything completely watertight, and that will finish this. Nothing else really has changed much on this building. JDC ultimately are just waiting for us to get this last bit watertight so they can come and put the board on and juice it up. So building wise, that's it. Back to cattle now, and obviously after the last video we were umming and ahhing whether we're doing stores, fat, calves, what we're doing I don't really know. After all of the comments, which I do thank you for, we have had a good lengthy chat, and I think what we're going to do is keep a fairly hybrid system where we're doing a bit of everything. Ultimately the sucklers is the route that we are going down, and we're going to stick to that, and we are getting on very well on that front. But in terms of fat or stores, I think it's going to depend on what stock we've got at what time of year. There's a side of me that says, why sell decent store cattle when we could finish them? I've still got the same arguments going on in the back of my mind as before, but ultimately I do think we'll keep this hybrid system. It may be that in the spring, when people are looking more for stores and the price is slightly higher, that's what we look at selling, or perhaps keep some fat back for the better time of the year, or ultimately look at the options of providing our own meat. That's another thing that I haven't really thought about too much yet. It's something that I've always wanted to get into, but we're not actually there at the minute. So that does mean a little bit more infrastructure around the place, which we've already got enough going on, but ultimately we need to start thinking about a bit more shed space. So that's what we're doing at the minute. We're going to need another feed bin like the one we've just had. So I've ordered one of them, that's on with now. We're just waiting for that to come. And then, like I say, we've got to get this area concreted because we still need an area to store more bales. Or are we going to do a clamp? Haven't put planning in, haven't done any more thought process. I've got an idea of where the clamp would go. So I think now it's just a case of weighing up planning wise what we can do. Okay, so from a farm infrastructure point, this is probably the next area that we're looking to do something with, because we've already finished, or everything on that side over there is en route to being finished, and I don't want to interfere with any of the infrastructure that we've got going on. So we've got the sort of cattle side over there, we've got the straw that services the pig sheds. The pigs, by the way, are in, they're all well and good, so that's good, they come in last Friday. And then there is no intentions of having any more pigs on site. It changes everything about what we do with big licenses and a lot more paperwork, and ultimately I don't think that's the route that we want to go down. I want to keep this little bit of a mix. We've got some cattle, we've got pigs, and we've got a handful of sheep. I quite like the fact that we've got all three going on there, and that's what I want to continue with. So this really now is the next area that sort of squares everything up. And by the time we finish this, I would think from a farming point, infrastructure wise, we are probably then done. So we've got to make sure we get this bit right. So there's so much to think about. This land here services all of our grazing or mowing grounds. So it suits to put the last two sheds here or to put a clamp here, because we can service all the land that we've got without going down the road. And while we're thinking about building these sheds, we'll probably think about building them in such a way that it suits sucklers and calving a little bit better than some of the other stuff that we've got. So we can house some of the different groups that we've got over there, but ultimately probably do our calving down here and get these sheds really well suited to that. And again, then that comes into clamp. Do we put a clamp in? If so, do we cover the clamp? Is it now mandatory to cover a clamp? I'm not sure. But the other things that we've got to start thinking about are the same as what we've had to do on the big site, because now any planning application for agricultural purposes also has to include biodiversity net gain. So that big amount of land that we have over there that we have sacrificed for the net gain of the industrial development site, I've now got to find other parcels of land to start including for any development purposes that we're doing here, which is getting difficult because that starts then encroaching on productive land that we are using. So we've then got to start thinking about where we're going to put this offsetting, because ultimately that is going to start eating its way into the area of land that we are using for grass production, for ultimately feeding the livestock and producing food. So that's an absolute nuisance, but we've got to start thinking about what we're doing there, because ultimately it is a rule and we've got to abide by it. So regarding developing this part here, if we get planning, this is going to take some real thinking out, because like I say, from the existing farmyard is pretty much at my eye line here as I look across now. So there's already 1.5 meters of fall to this point, which is where we would start the buildings, and there's probably another 2 meters of fall before we get out there. So it's going to take some thinking about how we're going to develop this. But ultimately, like I say, there's probably a couple more sheds and maybe a covered clamp to go out here, and then we're probably getting to a point where we're nearly finished in terms of shed space that we want for the animals that we've got going forward. So like I say, we've got lots to think about, so any advice is always welcomed here. If you like what you've seen though, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and we want some tranquil music, Clayton, please, and let's show the first room of the house.